Good morning, traders, and welcome to NewsWares Trade Talk for Friday, November 14th. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps. We're down 0.93%. We were down all morning, and we're continuing to edge lower. I mean, the losses are extending from yesterday as, tech stock valuations remain under scrutiny. But I got to say, the recent slew of positive earnings reports that come out suggest that the sector could turn. And we're kind of setting up for a nice rally towards the end of the year with this weakness that we're having in early November. Fed rate cuts, odds of a Fed rate cut, that's a big factor in the markets as well, because those odds continue to decrease. They're now standing at like 50%. And, if you listen to the recent Fed commentary, I mean, they're tempering their expectations for easing. They're continuing to say, we got to wait until we see the data. Everything is meeting by meeting. Issue is there's not a whole lot of data to take a look at. But next week, we get the Fed meeting minutes. Now, that's expected to provide some additional clarity in terms of the Fed's thinking. October reports remain a key factor. Some data is unlikely to be released at all, but others, may be released. And that question as to what's going to be released and what's not going to be released is adding to the uncertainty in the markets this morning. In corporate news, hey, the big story is Merck. Merck's buying out Cidara Therapeutics in a $9.2 billion deal. In terms of earnings reports, you got FIGR trading higher, while AMAT and SubHub are lower after their reports. Next week, big week for earnings. We got earnings coming out from NVIDIA, Walmart, Home Depot, TJ Maxx, Target, Palo Alto Networks, Intuit, PDD, and Baidu, and even Intuit. They're all scheduled to be releasing. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on in Europe this morning. And European markets are sea of red. I mean, we're looking at the DAX down 393 points. That's 1.64%. AI valuations, weakening data out of China, that's kind of adding to the pressure of the selling pressure in Europe this morning. The FTSE down 178 points, or 1.83%. I mean, they're talking about abandoning the income tax increase, which is sparking, jitters among people that are thinking that the BOE is going to cut rates before the end of the year. That's causing some weakness in the bank stocks. The bank stocks are getting hit on the London Exchange. In France, the CAC is down 1.47%. Listen, tech is weak. Banking stocks are weak. Industrial stocks are weak. Those are the sectors that are really underperforming this morning. And then we're taking a quick peek at what happened in Asia last night. And Asia was also, negative. I mean, we have the Nikkei down 905 points, or 1.77%. What can I say? The fears of overvaluation, AI stocks, diminished, expectations of a Fed rate cut. That overshadows the relief that the markets had for the government reopening. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng fell 500 points, or 1.85%. I mean, losses were across all sectors there. Tech, consumer stocks each dropped more than 2%. And then there was also additional pressure from Chinese economic data. You're looking at China. China dropped 0.97% overnight. And due to weak economic data, and bearish sentiment, really. You look at what's going on, and the October industrial and retail indicators also softened, and that data was released overnight, and that's caused some weakness in the Chinese markets. Okay, let's take a look at oil this morning, because oil's trading higher. You got WTI up 90 cents, or 1.53%. You get Brent trading up 80 cents, or 1.27%. We had such a big loss earlier this week that you saw it edged higher yesterday, not significantly. But this morning, the markets are reacting to some Ukrainian drone strikes that hit the Russian Black Sea port. And then there's Russia's Lukoil, which has begun cutting staffs across global oil trading units ahead of the U.S. sanctions. And there's reports that nearly a third of Russian seaboard oil exports could remain stranded in tankers due to rerouting and slower unloading, which is getting worse because of suspensions of Russian crude purchases by India and China. So, that is causing oil to tick up higher today, but it's still going to be down for the week. But oil is still a very, very active contract. Let's talk about earnings reports. Let's talk about AMAT, Apple Mary, Apple Tom. They beat by 7 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. The report was okay, but you look at the stock this morning, it's down 6.93%. FIGR, Frank India, Grace Richard, those guys delivered a strong beat on higher revenue. And then there's StubHub, which, had an awful report, and that stock's down 18.97%. Upcoming. What do we have upcoming? Ticker YYYMM, Full Truck Alliance, their EPS is 14 cents, expected move is 10%. JJ Snack Foods, their EPS is $1.06, and the expected move is 8.3% when they release on Monday morning. That's ticker JJSF. What else do we have here? Let's move on to economic reports. 1 p.m. we're going to get the Baker Hughes rig count figures. Got a lot of Fed speak going on. 10:05 a.m. we're going to hear from Kansas City Fed Bank President Jeffrey Schmidt. 2:30 p.m. we're going to hear from Dallas Fed Bank President Lori Logan. And at 3:20, Atlanta, the retiring, soon-to-be retired Fed Bank President from Atlanta, Raphael Bostic, he's going to be speaking at 3:20. That could be interesting. But, yesterday we heard from a couple of Fed speakers, Minneapolis Fed Bank President Neil Kashkari and San Francisco Fed Bank President Mary Daly. They kind of both indicated that it's premature to adjust monetary policy given the ongoing inflation pressures and uneven data. I mean, they don't have any data really to look at. So, the idea of making a change on rate cuts, is cautious. They're very cautious on it. Okay, let's take a look at what's happening in the markets today. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got five Dow stocks higher. Six Dow stocks higher. The other 24 are trading lower. That's not good today. I'm looking at my FANG stocks, and everything's really in the red this morning. We're not seeing any gains there, which is going to cause fuel some negative action throughout the day. We're looking at Apple. This is what's interesting. Apple's, there's a private report out there this morning saying that Apple sales phones, the iPhone sales in China rose 22% year over year in the first month after the iPhone 17 series was launched. Think about that. It's up 17% first month. Walking into the holiday season, people will buy iPhones as presents, as gifts. Yeah, the valuations should be solid for Apple, and that App Store is just a revenue-generated machine for them. Google was ordered to pay $573 million in 2 antitrust damages case. Netflix, they're looking to boost gaming engagement. They want to focus on a core of key games and make multiple play options, so you can use it on your phone, you can use it with the controller, you can use it on the TV. Interesting. They want to take over the home entertainment venues for people. We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks, and we're going to start off with NVIDIA and this AI chip bill that's out there that basically, is being, NVIDIA is against it. Well, Amazon and Microsoft are for it. NVIDIA calls it unnecessary market intervention, which is probably true. Verizon, that new CEO, he's in there and he's planning large cost reduction cuts, including a plan to cut 15% of the company's workforce. Talking Boeing, Boeing's, has that issue with the defense workers in their St. Louis plants that have been on strike. Earlier this week, I said that they were going to vote on Thursday. Well, the striking workers on Thursdays, they agreed to the new contract, so that contract dispute is over with. Those guys are back to work. That's actually a positive. But Boeing is down, 1% this morning. That won't last. Let's talk merger news. Merck has agreed to acquire biotech company Cidara Therapeutics in a $9.2 billion deal. Cidara Therapeutics is ticker CDTX. Charlie, David, Tom, X-ray. Okay. That stock is trading at $199 this morning, up 88%. Wow. Let's talk about guidance news. StubHub, they refuse to provide guidance. Oh, that stock is just getting smoked this morning. I mean, StubHub is down 18.97% in the pre-market. Applied Materials, AMAT, they see Q1 coming in $2.18 plus or minus 20 cents. Street estimates $2.15. That's why the stock's being hit, because that's a wide margin. And with the guidance and with the expectations at $2.15, they would have liked to see higher guidance come out from them. Okay, in terms of shareholder meetings, SYY, Cisco, they're going to be. This is the food company. They're having a shareholders meeting today. I believe it starts at 9 a.m. Okay, let's move on to the stock of the day. And what's my stock of the day? I got to go with Walmart, ticker WMT. I mean, earnings are out next week. The call volume this morning, or the call volume on Thursday, 43,348. The put volume was 33,990. Look at the open interest. You got 542K versus 492K. Now, listen, Walmart's going to slide along with the market this morning. There's no question about that. But this could be an opportunity, because of the fact of the matter is that with the earnings coming out, they're expecting, positive earnings. Major brokers are raising price targets on the stock. I could see this turn. I could see this turn higher, especially for Monday morning. So, listen, in terms of, an entry point, I want to get in $99, somewhere around there, not around the $99 range. I think if I can do that, it'll be a good trade. I'm willing to kind of wait to see, 15 minutes after the market opens. It might hit 98.50, but I do think that this is a good opportunity, because shares of Walmart should start to move higher as we get closer into earnings. And WMT is, getting hit this morning. So watch for that weakness to turn sometime today. Okay, let's take a look at the hot stories hitting the tape this morning. Check my hot news alert on NewsWares. Oh, here it is. Walmart's Doug McMillon to retire, John Fulner to succeed. Okay, what happens when the CEO retires, a Titan CEO? Doug McMillon's not a Titan, but he's been a long-time CEO. Stock typically drops 1.5% in the first, 45 minutes, and it starts to recover. So, yeah, that Walmart is my pick of the day. 98.50 sounds like a good entry price now, because I do think it will recover. Because at the end of the day, you look at something like Walmart, and the revenue is from last quarter, and they're still going to be moving forward. And I don't think he's planning on retiring on January 31, but he's going to remain on the board of directors. So that kind of provides some stability into the move over of CEOs. Let's see what else we got here. Bristol Myers BMY falls 4% after stopping a phase 3 trial. Biogen, BIIB, announced that Alzheimer's dosing has been approved in the UK. Under Armour expands its 2025 restructuring plan. And we'll see Northrop Grumman, Boeing, ticker BEA, and RTX. They were all given defense contracts. Paramount, Comcast, Netflix are among the potential bidders for Warner Brothers, WBD. That deadline is approaching, where all the bids have to be submitted. toy makers are rushing into blind box trend for the holidays. So you don't know what you're buying. They just put it in a box and call it a blind box, and people hope to get something really valuable. Bank of America and Bank of New York, they asked the federal judge on Thursday to dismiss lawsuits accusing them of knowingly aiding Jeffrey Epstein, by providing banking services. That's all I'm seeing this morning. Okay, let's move on and let's talk about yesterday, and let's talk about my stock of the day, which was FIGR, Frank India Grace Richard, Figure Technology Solutions. Okay, I was thinking 36.50, but you know what? The stock opened up at 36.25, and then it fell all the way down to 34.95. Listen, I got in at 35.60. I closed out at 36. I got my 1%. I was happy. But after the earnings report, the stock actually hit a high of 38.25. So whether you got in at the opening price or my suggested price, which was high, the 1% gain was there. It was very possible to get. I was lucky because I waited for an opportunity. I didn't get in as cheap as I wanted. I didn't hold on to it as long as I should have, but I made my 1%. So I can't complain. And, when you're making 1% every day, it all adds up. So FIGR was a winner yesterday. Winner. And that concludes today and this week's market action for NewsWares Trade Talk. Guys, you know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.